someone wrote in and said, I just started seeing someone. It's been about a few dates in, and I feel like I'm constantly planning the dates. How do I get her to plan more of the dates back? Well, this is what we've been talking about, right? It's communicating what you want out of the relationship. Even in early stages of dating, you cannot expect the person you're dating to read your mind or to act the way you do. My mom always says to me, you can't expect other people to be you. It's true, because only you know what you want. They don't know. So I think it's very important to communicate that. What I really appreciate about a partner is someone who plans things or takes initiative in planning things. I think it's also helpful to sit back and think, have I even allowed this person to plan things? I know some friends who are very adamant about going to certain restaurants, doing certain things, getting tickets for certain events, and then their partner or date is just along for the ride. Otherwise, it's not a good date. So relinquishing that control is another way of thinking, have I even allowed this person to take initiative?
I think it's how do you make it more collaborative? My partner and I, we have a running list of things we want to do on Google Keep. It's just a list of activities or restaurants or whatever it may be, beaches, national like hikes, whatever it is. And that's just there. We just add to it as we come up with things. And even if we're talking to each other, we'll add things. And then we can refer to it. And it doesn't feel like one person's planning it that way. It just feels like it's more of a collaborative nature. And I'm also not keeping track, like, am I putting 80% of the things on here? Or is he putting 80%? I'm not like thinking about it that way. It's more of, here is our list of running things we want to do. And, we just have this at our disposal when we're looking for something to do. So I think that's been really great. But I think also another way is, like you kind of alluded to earlier, how do you ask them what they want? Like even saying, hey, I know you're into music. I would love to join you on a concert that you really like. Like that would be really fun to me. I think one, it shows that you're invested in the relationship, that you want to partake in their activities. And then also it invites them to plan something because they know you want to come to it.
Yes. I've also heard this. Well, actually, before I get to my thought, my question to you, Julie, is how do you and your partner prioritize which things to do first?
It's kind of in the moment. Like every weekend, we'll be like, what do we feel like doing? We'll look at the list and we'll see what jumps out. Honestly, it hasn't been much of a production or conversation. It's just been very natural. But depending on the relationship, maybe that would be more, challenging. I think both of us are pretty laid back of what we do. But I would say if people have really strong opinions on some, maybe there's a way to star the ones that you really, really want to do so you can prioritize accordingly and alternate. Maybe I've also done like, I'll plan a weekend because he did a lot of the planning one weekend. Like I remember when his friends were in town, I was like, I want to take you out and plan a weekend because I did all this stuff with you and your friends that you planned and took me out, invited me to and took me to. So I think that's a really good way to kind of balance it too, it was kind of fun. I'm like, I'm going to do a surprise night for you. And I think like if you can make it more of, an adventure too and a gift to your partner, it's not as like, oh my God, here I go planning and doing this stuff again. It's all about the mindset there too.
Yes. Well, that's so much fun. Collaboration is the key to a relationship, and that's so fun to bring the planning together and not feel like it's tit for tat. Like I plan this and then you plan that. I was going to offer a piece of perspective from the person who is doing less of the planning. I've been in that position too, and if I feel extreme anxiety and pressure being around someone who's constantly doing all the planning, who beats me to it. And I feel like I'm just trying to take a breath before I even think about what we're doing next. And you've already thought about that next step. So just, maybe that's just something for you to think about if you are the planner. Your partner may feel a little pressure too.
That's a really good point. I definitely have friends that are more type A with planning than I am. They'll make brunch reservations 4 months from now. And I'm like, I can't even think about next weekend. So I think talking to your partner about how do you operate is really important, because it could just be that you both operate very differently. And that might not be a bad thing. Maybe one person is the more planner because that's important to them. Yes. And I think also, just to offer another perspective too, I remember dating this guy and he planned everything. It was always what restaurant he wanted to go to, or, and at first I thought it was really great because I was like, that's so assertive and I really like that. But then I realized that when I wanted to do something, it was only on his schedule. Yep. And I quickly realized that someone being the driver is not as important to me as I once thought. I think with other partners that haven't been that way, honestly, it hasn't bothered me as much because they have been just more easygoing about what we do. And it hasn't been like my way or the highway type of thing. And I think sometimes it's easy in early stage dating to get caught up in, especially with gender roles, like the man plans all the dates and that's how they show they're really into you. But I think you also have to think about, like, is this the relationship I want long term?
Yes. Yes, that's a very good point. I've been there too. I've definitely been there. And you realize you're just there to fill a spot.
Right. Anyone could be there.
Car.
It's what they want to do. Yes.
It's what they want to do, and they just want a companion to be along for the ride. So I've definitely been there. But this is a really great way to just wrap up this question, which is, you have to communicate with your partner. How do we want to operate as an entity together? That's very important. And if we were talking about planning here, who is better at planning? So you can figure out where your strengths are. And then how do you want your partner to contribute to the planning is also very important. Take into account their interests.
I think knowing yourself also, because like we were just saying that I didn't like being along for the ride. Maybe there is someone out there that does. Yep. So I think it is all about knowing yourself and what is going to work for you in addition to what you just said.